This video is brought to you by Corsair. With patch 9 delivering new flavor to the Dark Urge and other evil playthroughs, a lot of people have been jumping in for their first bad guy run in Baldur's Gate 3. This would include me, so in this video I want to talk about the current comp I'm running in my Dark Urge stream that utilizes the new subclasses added with the patch. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos. So with that being said, let me give you the 4 multi-classes that I'm running. My Sith build using Blade Singer and Eldritch Knight, which can be spiced into a heavy caster or heavy melee depending on your preference. My Dark Knight build using Shadow Sorcerer, Hexblade, and Oathbreaker to combine the power of pets and smites into a destructive powerhouse. Death Monk using Death Cleric and Shadow Monk for more fun, jumping around, and necrotic damage as well. Lastly, a pure Hexblade Warlock for insanity with even more pets. Now, I've made each of these builds in a way that leverages any of the new subclasses immediately so you can get into the thick of the patch quickly. There's always ways to min-max this, but I try to make a more enjoyable approach. You can find links to each of the builds in the description below, as well as the corresponding video in each section in the upper right-hand corner. Now, this video is not meant to be Creed. It's meant to inspire you, so please take some elements of this and go wild. Maybe borrow a class or two, swap out the subclasses, whatever it is. There's so many ways to enjoy this game, so please play the game you want, not what I say. Well, that's the too long didn't watch this entire video, so that's all you want to know, then please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. You can also navigate to any of the builds using the chapters, both the timeline and the description. And before you head out, if you find the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Also, take a look at my Twitch linked in the comment and description, where I'll be streaming this pure evil run as well as all the builds in this video. But let's get started on the ultimate evil Dark Urge party comp for Baldur's Gate 3. I recently built out a new computer, and in my pursuit of a new case for my brand new Skynet mothership, Corsair was kind enough to send me a 6500X RGB mid-tower case. Now, to be clear, they didn't just send it. I had to do some exhaustive research, and then I begged, borderline sent toe pics to get one. After many cease and desist orders, they obliged.
Stop it. Get some help.
And I was stuck between 3 cases originally. The first was the Leon Lee 011, or 011, whatever you want to call it, series, which had been, the go-to for a lot of builders in the last 5 years, with a real minimalist form factor, but it didn't really have a lot of the features or bells and whistles I was looking for, namely the cable management. It's a much more utilitarian feel that I just wasn't after. Second, I looked at the Be Quiet Light Base 600, which I really liked because it had some cool stuff, but the RGB lighting on top of the already insane amount of Corsair RGB lighting I had planned really didn't work for me. Not to mention some of the features, which seemed cool, had some functionality that I really just wasn't into. I landed on the Corsair 6500X for a number of reasons. The interchangeable faceplate allows me to flex around the build when I get tired of pure black cases, swapping out for a walnut or aluminum look with just some simple tweaking. I also had an entire ecosystem of Corsair lighting planned, and the inclusion of not only 3 fans, but the new IQ Link system hub meant that buying additional fans would be a lot easier and a lot cheaper for me, since they can already be easily daisy chained together now. The back panel of the case too is also entirely mesh, so there's a ton of airflow in this bad boy, coupled with the IQ Link Titan 360 that I talked about before. With the total 10 fans I have mounted, it really keeps my temps down and the noise to a minimum, which is a pain in the ass when I'm trying to record and I have a rogue fan just humming at me. Lastly, the build size, while comparable to the other 2 cases, was just that extra bit larger to give me all the room I needed to get inside. Lay out the fans how I wanted, swap cables, everything. It's the largest of the 3, but still fits comfortably on my desk and was smaller than my previous case. All in all, it's the best case I've used in a long while that didn't give me a headache and that, just push it all in and shut the panel feeling that I've gotten with so many other cases before. Huge thank you to Corsair for sponsoring this video, and you can find a link to the case in the description below, as well as the upper right corner of this video. But let's get started with the content. So loading into the game, the way that I'm going to do this is pretty much talk about each class on a high level and how I've really set them up. You can find, again, in the description, a link to each one. So if you just want to see what their build looks like, how I've spiced them up, you can find that. I also break down how I go about leveling them, basically from level 1 to level 12. That gives you a progression of how to approach these versus just like, hey, this is what this party comp looks like at max level. Everything I'm going to go through too item wise, I've tried to give you a sense of things that are particularly good in the build link, but at the same time, you're going to find items throughout the game, try and swap things in that makes sense. It's not so much going to be focused on, hey, if you don't have these items, then this build's not going to make any sense. And if I do have something like that, I will highlight it in the respective section. But for the most part too, we're just going to pretty much be taking a look at these at a high level. A 5 wizard, 7 fighter, a 5 paladin, 1 warlock, 6 sorcerer, a 12 warlock, and then 6 cleric, 6 monk. And as well as the character choice too, that's entirely up to you. The Death Monk one was built with Shadowheart in mind because I wanted to take her evil and use her spear from it. So that's a choice that I've made, but you don't need to. There's nothing that's going to restrict you from playing any other way. But any one of these characters can be, you can be, the pure warlock can be your Tav. It doesn't really matter. However you want to approach it, you can. So now that we have this understood from a high level, let's go into pretty much each one of these builds from left to right. Starting us off, we're going to take a look at our Sith build, my Sith Warlord, my Sith Lord, whatever you want to call this. Now, since I am going with 5 wizards, 7 fighter, I have decided to go with Blade Singing and with Eldritch Knight. Now, Eldritch Knight does really require 7 levels to really take off. And you can spice this in a lot of different directions. If you really want to go with more of a wizard, you can. It's going to unlock more spell slots for you, more capabilities as a wizard, whatever it is. But the reason that we're going 7 fighter is specifically for this war magic. You have honed your body and magic for war. After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. It's the entire reason we're going 7 points or 7 levels into fighter. And remember, since we're taking fighter and blade song, the important thing to know what that is, blade song means that you have to either have no armor, just a robe, or light armor on. So just keep that in mind as you go through the playthrough of this character, that if you don't have those in place, you're going to shut off the capability to use Blade Song, and Blade Song is going to give us quite a bit, right? This gives us Constitution saving throw help. It gives us advantage in acrobatics. It gives us armor class, gives us movement speed. Then we get our climax here, which is either going to heal us or do force damage, sorry. So there's a lot of damage that is built into this build from Blade Song. So you don't want to shut this off. It also gives you 3 AC. It's just a really, really good capability. And that is going to be a big driving force of this build. Now, almost every single build in this video can use the brand new Shadowblade spell. I just don't encourage it because it's just such a watered down way to play. I would say if you're going to use that spell, use it on one character, not all 3 that can access it. I think actually it's all 4 players can access it in this build. So I wouldn't recommend it. Now, some other things too here for feat choices, we've gone with Defensive Duelist. When attacked while wielding a finesse weapon you're proficient with, you can use a reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your armor class. This is really nice. It just gives us a way to weaponize our reaction. And we're also going to be using improved ability score to give us more intelligence. And that is it, I think, for our, Warcaster is our other feat. So those are our 3 big standout feats. We're going to focus on, where is it? Yeah. No. Up here. There it is. We're going to focus on dexterity for our melee damage for this, so we don't have to split into many stats. This is going to give us dexterity and initiative. Armor class and initiative. Intelligence is our main focus. And then for all of our items here, pretty much go with the typical kind of kit for someone that is going to be both melee and casting. So something like the Helmet of Arcane Acuity here, which gives us Arcane Acuity, or the Ring of Arcane Synergy, the Diadem of Arcane Synergy, stuff like that. I'm also using Necklace of Elemental Augmentation. When one of your cantrips deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder, add your spellcasting modifier to the damage. So we do stuff like that. And these gauntlets here, we're trying to pull from our capability of using Action Surge since we're a fighter. So try to have some fun with that. You just want to make sure you're using some sort of finesse weapon for this build, and that's how you would really use it. And also too, we would focus on using Booming Blade quite a bit, because Booming Blade is a cantrip. It's going to trigger our capability as a, what's this thing called? Eldritch Knight. War magic right here, right? After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. So you'll get 3 attacks per round because you'll use your Booming Blade, will be a cantrip that will activate as a melee attack. So then we'll get our bonus attack after that, which cannot be Booming Blade. And then we'll use our bonus action to do another weapon attack. So you'll be able to get quite a lot of value out of that. And there's a lot of good damage that can come out of this character. You can play this very melee focused. It's meant to be up close and personal, but at the same time, it has a lot of fun range spells. And I try to like jump into as much of like Witch Bolt, which I know is not an amazing ability. Shocking Grasp. You're a wizard, Harry. So try and pull as many of the spells that are shock or lightning related, right? Because that's really fun. It's thematic, Sith Lordy. So play around with those and enjoy. Moving over to the Dark Knight, we have Warlock here. Again, this can be whoever you want, but we're going to want to take 5 levels of Paladin, 1 level of Warlock, and 6 levels of Sorcerer. Now, I've broken this out in the link below on how to go about this, but you'd want to take that 1 level of Paladin first, because that gives you heavy armor, then 1 level of Warlock immediately, because what we're doing here is we're not focusing on any kind of strength. My strength right now is coming from an elixir of Cloud Giant strength. So we're not focusing on that for this build. We're focusing on charisma. That is where all of our damage is coming from. The reason I'm using that elixir right now is to show you that you can focus on strength if you want. But the reason we're taking 1 level of Warlock is to turn our weapon into a Hexblade weapon, which will then make it so that we can use charisma for our attacks. Your damage rolls against the target gain a bonus equal to your proficiency bonus. And that's Hexblade's curse. There we go. Bind Hexblade. There, that's what I wanted to look at. This will now make it so that your weapon will use your charisma modifier for its damage. So that's what we want here. This allows us to break away from the Baldur and Giant Slayer, which everyone uses for their 2-handed weapons. I really like stuff like the Sword of Chaos. It heals you. I think it's really cool looking sword that fits this kind of evil build. And then throughout the build of the game, you can just use whatever weapon you want. Well, I'm focusing on 2-handed weapons, but you can use whatever weapon you want as you're leveling the character up and just simply bind it to the hex weapon. So you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of fun. With 4 more levels though of Paladin, we're going to get some things that are really going to turn on the melee capability of this build. And that is, of course, extra attack. That's why we're going down that route. We're also going to pick up Great Weapon Master to give us a lot more damage. Those are always going to be crucial things here. But what we want from Paladin is taking all of our skills here and turning them into really strong smites. So if we see here, if I jack this all the way up, we're going to do 24 to 72 smite damage with our sword. And you know how paladins work, right? Anytime you do a swing, if it's a crit or whatever, you can just kind of keep that smite going. Either it doesn't need to be, you don't have to manually trigger this, right? You can just go ahead and click this and have it come up as one of your asks or prompts for either a hit or a smite. So you can have a ton of damage coming out from that. In addition to, we have, let me go back over to here. We have so much stuff like Hex Warrior coming out here for our bind Hex, or I'm sorry, where's the Hex Curse? The curse that comes from this, which will then summon stuff up. Well, not, sorry, now I have to get a level 6 to summon things, but next up is our pure Hexblade Warlock. And I know this is not really an inventive situation, but if you've never played with a pure Warlock, you really should. And I really kind of jumped between, do I show off a Bard lock, which uses the lore Bard to really amplify a lot of control spells, or do I just show off a pure Warlock? And I really love pure Warlock. I think pure Warlock is just super enjoyable because you have so many tools in your kit, and the way that Warlock spells work is really fun, especially since we're going to have level 5 Warlock spells and they replenish on a short rest. So there's a lot of great stuff that you can do with it. With this, you know, I'm focusing on, this would be an example of something I would use Shadowblade on, unless I really wanted to focus on using Will and his storyline to get the Infernal Rapier. So this would be an example of just trying to go with Shadowblade when I think I already know it's very cheesy because it just does so much damage if you don't already know. You can see that if I were to use this bad boy, it'll be 4 to 32 damage. So that's just absolutely insane bananas. Now, when you're a Warlock, though, you get access to Eldritch Invocations, and we're doing quite a bit of them. Agonizing Blast is definitely going to be happening here since we're going to be focusing on our charisma. We are a pure Warlock, of course. So Agonizing Blast turns our Eldritch Blast in just a bomb, right? We're going to be using that through the majority of our gameplay. So we're going to get that at level 2. In addition, though, it's really just dealer's choice. I have Devil's Sight here so that we can see in darkness 80 feet, magical or otherwise. We're also going to get the famous repelling blast is a really good one. There's another, it doesn't show it on this list for some reason. I don't see it. But the other one that I've gone with here, it's like called like, well, there's two other ones. They're not on this list, but it allows you to get Conjure Elemental. I think it's like Minions of Chaos. And then another one that gives us Confusion. These are two really good spells. This just adds more pets to our repertoire. It's really good. In addition to, we are a Pact of the Blade Hexblade Warlock. They patched out the capability for Hexblade Warlock to have natural extra attack. So we're taking Pact of the Blade to give us extra attack. That is huge. I cannot recommend that enough. Definitely go with it. In addition, though, we're going to pick up Spell Sniper and Savage Attacker because we're still going to be in melee for this build. And we're going to use improved ability score with Charisma to help out with that. Because when we get into melee, we're going to use Life Drinker. Attacks made with your weapon deal additional necrotic damage equal to your Charisma modifier. So we have just additional necrotic damage coming out. And we want to do Accursed Spectre. When you are an ally within 60 feet, slay a creature that is afflicted with Hexblade's curse, you can raise an Accursed Spectre that will fight alongside you for a short period of time. And if you've never seen how Accursed Spectre works, you will get a Spectre based off of the size of the creature. So if you were to do the largest creature, you're going to get a really big Spectre, and it's going to be really devastating. So you want to make sure you're leveraging this. It just gives you a ton of, not summons, but a ton of pets that you'll be having a lot of fun with. And also Armor of Hexes is really cool. When a creature you cursed with Hexblade's Cursed attacks you, potentially nullify the attack as a reaction. This is a 50% chance of succeeding. This is, I think, the level, I think it's level 10 or level 11 Hexblade ability, and Life Drinker is a level 12 Warlock ability. So it's why I wanted to go to level 12. It just is really fun. You get so many cool tools to take advantage of. And like I said, level 5 Warlock spells. Now you have a bunch of different items you can play around with. You know, using the Potent Robe is really good if you can go the route to actually get this, which is hard if you are going Dark Urge. But this does so much stuff for charisma based builds, or things like this that give you more charisma. I really like too these specific gloves. There's a bunch of different spell gloves in the game. These ones though, cantrips that cost an action cost a bonus action instead. So I can spend my primary actions attacking with my Shadow Blade, using Booming Blade, and then use an extra attack to do more damage, and then use my bonus attack to do Eldritch Blast. That alone is a round of devastating amounts of damage coming out from the character. So have fun with it. Enjoy using a pure Hexblade if you've never done it, because it's a lot of fun. Last but certainly not least is our Death Monk. This is going to be combining 6 levels of Death Cleric with 6 levels of Shadow Monk. And if you've never played with the Shadow Monk, before we even get into anything, let me show you why we're going 6 levels into Shadow Monk. If you are in any kind of obscured place, you teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll. This costs a bonus action, and it's an easy move to make. Doesn't cost any other resource though. So it allows you to do quite a bit of stuff and get advantage on things that you then can take advantage of. And you have a cool ability here with Cloak of Shadows, wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. So that's why we go with Shadow Monk. We play around with the ability to jump around and then do devastating amounts of damage, because we're going to focus on using the Selûne Spear of Night. I'm using, this is the good version. Oh, this is, okay, sorry. Selûne Spear of Night is the good version. Selûne Spear of Dawn, I think, is the evil version, or whatever, not Selûne, the other one, the other lady. Either way, what a great video I've done. What an instructional video. But the other version of this spear will do additional Shar's Spear of Dawn, I think is what it is. I'm live streaming right now, so someone in chat helped correct me. Shar's Spear of Night or Dawn or whatever. That has a damage bonus or advantages or benefits for being obscured. So you can focus on using on all the items that, if you're obscured, it does more stuff, like more critical damage, anything like that, because that is the biggest point of this build, is being obscured. You can only use this if you're jumping from a shadow to a shadow. It's really awesome. Shadow Step is really, really, really fun. And you get stuff like, covert critical, depending if you're using something like this, while obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. I like the whole entire Dark Justiciar armor for this. It's really fun. While obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks. So you can really play around with this and have a good time with it. And I think it's fun to play the new Deathclair because it has a lot of things going for it. So in addition, though, we're going to be getting extra attack from Monk. Again, why we're pulled up to 6 levels onto it. We also will be choosing stuff. We have all the martial arts things, so you can go no armor if you want, but we already have 21 girthy armor class, so might as well play around with that as best you can. And you can have fun with just simply using cantrips. Because of the Reaper one, your necromancy cantrips that only target one creature can target an additional creature. And you have, where is it? You can bypass, this is it. Spells you cast to ignore resistance to necrotic damage. So you can focus on necrotic a lot with this build, trying to pull necrotic out of different sources to maximize its damage threshold, while at the same time using your monk capabilities, because this is considered a monk weapon, right? Anytime you use any weapon you are proficient with, it's a monk weapon. So you can use Stunning Strike, stun things, a lot of fun, then follow up with just tons of destruction. You can use Flurry of Blows, because this is a bonus action. And the nice thing about it here is, if you use other things like these gloves, your weapon attacks deal an additional fire damage, or your unarmed attacks deal an additional 1d6 necrotic damage and can possibly inflict bleeding. You can have the flawed Helldust gloves that will do the same thing, just a smaller threshold. So you can play around with a lot of fun stuff because your primary actions are filled with tons of ways to do damage with extra attacks, with spells. You can do this really cool combination of using Spirit Guardians with necrotic damage, because that's a spell, remember? And we'll see what it looks like amped up. Okay, level 3, 3 to 24. 3 to 24 necrotic damage, but then you can use Shadow Step to jump from one shadow to another shadow to spread those Spirit Guardians, like the herpes of Baldur's Gate 3. So you get a lot of fun things to do here. There's no specific items that really you'd want to focus on outside of maybe necrotic damage or anything while you're obscured gives you some sort of benefit. Those are really the big cruxes of this build. But also too, since no one else is focusing on any kind of wisdom centric things, you can go crazy with that stuff, either the monk items or the cleric items as you're leveling up with this build. So we talked about those classes. Let's show off some gameplay. So I've initiated Blade Song on our Sith character. Let's open up really quick with just a booming blade, something very simple. And we'll go through this and to go to the attack portion. We're using a specific weapon that gives us the capability to use a little more damage with our reaction, but I'm going to choose not to react with that so we can play around with it a little bit more. And we've got Infernal Resistance here we can play around with. Once you fail a saving throw, you may succeed instead. So we'll do that. Because I'm a pure Warlock, but we're still ensnared, so you know what? Screw me, right? What a great video I've done. But if we come back over to this, we can see what just happened here with 9 thunder damage, 15 piercing damage, and 3 necrotic damage coming out from our character. And that was a cantrip, right? So had I not done a cantrip there, had I instead done a primary, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I can actually do it. I can do what I'm thinking of doing. So let's go ahead and do this again. React. And we have got Blade Song stuff. We can have Dueller's Enthusiasm. We can use our climax. Blade Song's impeded by what? Oh, it's because of these gloves. Forgot these are medium armor gloves. Well, we'll take them off right. Now Blade Song should not be impeded anymore. Just checking. You have to make sure that you don't have any medium armor on like I have. There we go. No, Blade Song is no longer impeded. So I could use Blade Song. But remember how I said how War Song works? I can go ahead and still attack with my attack here. I can still have some fun with that. We cannot use Booming Blade, but let's go ahead just to show what Blade Song looks like. Because in case you've never seen it, it's really cool. Do a little force damage. Right there in that case, it didn't have a chance to really get any good power, but you can see that's how that works. And if I wanted to, we could action surge into more stuff, more combat, but we'll kind of leave that as is. I'm going to go, though, back into Blade Song because using the climax does cost you your blade song. So we'll go ahead and end that turn. It's going to bring us around to Karlach. If you're playing a paladin, you want to make sure these are all clicked, ask you, otherwise the game will automatically go ahead and do those things. And you also want to check these boxes so as an option. So that's why you can choose, do I want to use a level 1 spell or level 4 spell slot to do what I want to do. So let's open up first here with a bonus action of the Hound of Ill Omen. Just to get a little hand on the board. Probably should have done this before we did anything, but whatever. So that is now active here. You can go do some stuff. We can get it to a tangle. What we want though is Ominous Bite. Bite a target and place an omen, a dark omen that can be of acid, cold, lightning, fire, poison, or thunder. When damage of that type is dealt to the affected entity, the owner of the hound regains 1 sorcery point. That is the important thing. It's a constitution save, so it might not go off. I don't know what's the con on these guys. Does she have less? I mean, not much less. We'll see. We might get lucky. No, we didn't. If it had triggered, we would have chosen Thunder, and then we would have been able to come over here with Thunder and drop that Thunder Bomb. Now, I'm going to use Booming Blade to see if we can get ourselves a Smite active here. It's... Well, you can see how much damage it does. 8, 25, and 4. We didn't get a Smite active there. Oh, just completely wrecked house right there. Oh my gosh. We've already done our bonus action, unfortunately. But let's just try to get another Smite going right there. We'll jack it up to level 4 so you can see. 40% chance to hit. Executioner, go for a guaranteed critical. Slam fuck! And 30 damage, 4 damage, 57 damage out of the Dark Knight. And we can have fun too, since we have these meta magic capabilities. We have Distant Spell. We could have increased the range of spells by 50% and make it so that melee spells have a 30-foot range. I can press Twin Spell, you know. We can also do Quicken Spell. So any of those spells that we cast, I could then use this to then have it be done with a bonus action. It's why that Hound is so important. It allows me to either cast spells as bonus actions or have more sorcery points to refund some of our spell points. That is the biggest thing that you want to be doing with that. So let's go ahead and end the turn for this guy. It's over here, doesn't really matter. End the turn here. Fist Mirren, not to be confused with the famous actress Helen Mirren. We'll go ahead and climb down a flight. Would you call it a flight? What would you call it? A flight of ladder? A flight of prongs. So we have her active and ready. So we can go ahead and use our action of Spirit Guardians. We then also have a bonus action of Shadow Step we can take advantage of. So let's kind of see how we can put these two together. Because remember, you just simply have to be obscured. And she is obscured right now. This is obscured. Any kind of shade like this is obscured. Any kind of shadow. So this allows us to go like that and move around. So we could go ahead and do this and go into Spirit Guardians. Let me just showcase some other quick spells though that we've got to take advantage of. We've got Vampiric Touch. We have got Inflict Wounds. We have got Toll the Dead and Bone Chill right out the gate, because that's how you get these things to start with the character. You can Bursting Sinew. We can just make a little boom boom in shaboom boom right there. So you have a lot of tools that you can play around with this build. And that's what I like about it. Every single build has tons of stuff that it can do. And I feel like a lot of builds get really boring really quick. So this ignores resistance. Let's go ahead and just turn it on. Concentration. And we're going to just probably move. You know, this is guaranteed. We're going to move right here. And then just, I mean, so I could manually move there for sure. I mean, to further make my point, I can't move out here, right? Because it's not lightly or heavily obscured. If I had enough room right there, you could move behind this. Let's go ahead and go here. And there we go. So Spirit Guardian just goes ahead and spreads. So that's how you use this build. You just drop down with Spirit Guardians after you've cast it. If I was kind of really being smart about this engagement, knowing I was going to step into an engagement, I would have used Spirit Guardians first, so I had the primary action to show you more stuff. But if you're any kind of versed in this game, you know that all of these buttons here are pretty much things that you're going to be able to do. So let's go ahead and end the turn. Unfortunately, we're going to be going over to a Will who is currently stuck. and just rebuke that. Wow, just throwing bombs on me. It's just really rude. Defensive Duelist is up here now for our Sith. So we can use this to give us a little bonus to our AC. Just enough to miss the hit. And we are active now with Will. Now, unfortunately, too, we could not take advantage of... Oh, okay. Our boots are off. Yeah, never mind. Whatever. We can do whatever the hell we want. So we've got stuff that we could do. We could pop into our Shadow Blade, which, and realistically, I would have done this before because this lasts until long rest. We can conjure an elemental, which again, I would have done before because this lasts until long rest, and you can summon up a water, fire, earth, or air elemental, and they'll all summon Captain Planet. That's a joke. It's not a really good one though. So you've got the capability to do these things. But I love stuff like Hunger of Hadar, which is just a really nice area of control spell you get very early. Early spells too, I really like our Armor of Agathis, because at level 5 Warlock, that's 25 HP, that does temp HP, that does cold damage. You just cast this the second you wake up from a long rest, and you've got it until a long rest or until it gets knocked off of you again. Furthermore too, we go ahead with Eldritch Blast and just drop things, right? So let's do something like this. Who has a lot of hit points we can play around with? Okay, so first off, what we'll do is we'll go over here. Or can I do this? Damn, it's a bonus action. There's a chance. So whenever you curse a blade, which this should be cursed because I did it before. Yeah, okay. Before recorded. It has a chance to apply Hexblade Curse versus this will directly apply the Hexblade's curse. So we want that to be on a target because that's how we get specters to summon. And if it dies, it also heals us. So that's the biggest thing for Hexblade's curse. Your weapon always has a chance. This is a guarantee. Now, what we could do here is go over with Booming Blade and do a fistful of damage. And then use Quick Spell to use Eldritch Blast as a cantrip. Because I really want to see if we can get those specters up, I'm going to go Hexblade first here. But that's kind of ideally what you would do for a ton of damage, right? Quick Spell into Eldritch Blast here to just melt a face. Let's go over here. So just to show you what we have done, it's 20, 20, and 14 damage because of Life Drinker, right? You can see why this is such a strong combination because not a lot of people bring it all the way through. I should have summoned up a Spectre. Or maybe it has to be the one from the weapon. Let me see. Well, either way, a Spectre should have been summoned because of this. When you are an ally within 60 feet, slay a creature that is afflicted with the Hexblade's curse, you can raise an accursed Spectre. So, that has a tendency to happen. Just too much damage too fast. Or it might have actually been this that killed it. So it's hard to say, but you can see that there lots of stuff can be happening there. And unfortunately, I can't, I'm too far to finish off with another swing on this person, but you could have seen how that would have really equaled tons more damage. But each one of these is very strong. Each one of these has tons of things going for it. And you can play around with tons of different stuff, tons of different approaches. Oh, you know, I'm going to blow up this. I could have killed that guy right there. Man, I'm really paying attention. You can have a lot of fun by doing a lot of cool things with a lot of different stuff in all of these classes. You can use different subclasses. You can make this one have more wizard classes and less fighter classes. It does defeat the purpose of taking Eldritch Knight if you go below 7 fighter classes. Or level 7 fighter levels. So I will say that. But have fun with this. It's a really fun, thematic, juicy, evil comp. Another swap in you could have done here, instead of the Death Monk, I have a Necromancer build that I updated. It works really well in this build as well. I just didn't want to overburden the build with a bunch of stuff that has a lot of really similar mechanics. I wanted everything to feel very unique and different. So take one of these, take 2 of them, take all of them. However you want to approach playing this comp or your Dark Urge evil playthrough, I definitely encourage it. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any recommendations of any other evil classes, anything like that, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. But as always, have a good one and take care.